Okay, so what were some of the nuances that came out in the 50s as far as production wise?
Well, the lives of family life was changed a lot because of the production of labor-saving appliances for the household. It freed the time of women up, and they became interested in pursuing careers more and more rather than in taking care of the domestic scene. There were lovely labor-saving devices, lovely refrigerators, continually upgraded, automatic washers, automatic dryers, fabric that was wash and wear in the sense that it didn't require ironing. Television greatly changed the cultural landscape of the United States. And there were certain TV shows that were so popular that everybody organized their life around them. Like Monday night was the I Love Lucy show, and everybody in the country stayed home. You just as well not plan anything because nobody would come. And we all thought it was great. Now, we didn't have a television, but everybody else did.
Okay. Okay, so can you explain a little bit of what you know about America's affairs in the world around that time, more politically, like after the war? Maybe their affairs in Europe and those type of countries.
Yes, the political landscape in those days was distinguished by three characteristics. One was a very conservative political stance, and it was it developed into the Cold War at that time, which was basically against the communist influences that were aggressively sent out through the Russians. And this created quite a brouhaha in the middle 1950s against communism, and it was a great political influence in the country. The next thing is that the Americans were intensely patriotic. We had just got out of a great war when the American nation had fought the war, shed their blood, paid for it, sent great armaments and supplies out through their factories, predominantly that won the war, and supported especially the nation of Great Britain by food, by armaments, by clothing, by about anything that you can imagine. And the Americans were hot. They were good to people, but they did not back down.
Okay, dealing with that and politics, could you tell us a little bit about the president and how you felt about him? And I understand that he was the first president inaugurated on television. So
yes.
Could you just express some of your feelings about him and his background a little bit and who he was?
Now, is that going to be on here, what you just said? Is that going to be heard? Yes. I remember watching the 1952 election and all of the discussions leading up to it on television. I remember watching the inauguration on television and the acceptance by President Eisenhower and his swearing in. We were jubilant because we were Republicans. The Democrats had a very bad time through the 50s. General Eisenhower had the complete confidence of the American nation. They elected him in a landslide victory that was just overwhelming in gratitude to him for his labors, for the free world, for leading the forces of the United States and being true to the principle that the government of the United States superseded and governed the military, and he kept to that principle continually. He didn't go out for anything for himself. He was also very good to work with our allies, especially the leading people of Great Britain. But he had the confidence not only of the American nation, but of the entire free world. He was probably had the most recognizable face in the world at that time, even until he passed away. It makes you a little bit emotional when you realize that that was the last days of freedom from fearfulness about us as a nation.